and welcome back to Austin Talks, where today we are covering a video that it's interesting, that's for sure. So, and that's really why I actually wanted to cover it, because it is at the end of the day interesting. And yeah, like the Transformers franchise is nothing to like, oh yeah, it's small, it's nothing to downgrade on, because it is quite valuable. So I'm not gonna keep this intro too long, and let's just get right into it. First off, there we are. Now, first off, why am I doing this video? Now, the Transformers franchise is really big now. It's quite big, and when you include all of its factors and not just TV, like marketing, Transformers aren't that old, but they do have a very rich history, and that is like what I'm actually here to tell you. And it is very good and important, actually. And it all started in the 1980s, which is quite late, if you ask me. For the origination of a franchise. But now I say that's late because it's actually quite significant considering where they've come now, how far they've come now. That is incredible. Now, it all started in the 1980s, as we just said, which is again quite late. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how old the franchise is; it's how much, how much money and how long it's lasted and evolved. So this has evolved over the last 40 years, and look at where we are now. It is incredibly impressive. So, and honestly, very good. It's a very good stride that we've made with this franchise, and I'm glad it's still living up there. That is very good. So first off, the toys the toys and cartoons were what really set this whole franchise off. And now the Transformers are not that old if you really think about it, but it has a good evolutionary scale. And because they started like no others do, so usually the franchise started with movies like the MCU, like the DCEU, they all did. But the Transformers franchise as a whole, Transformers first came around with the toy line, and Hasbro created them. Now, there were transformative robot toys that could change from a vehicle to a robot and vice versa. Now they became popular because how easily they were to transform. You could have a playable car, then you could have a playable action figure. So that's obviously like the best of both worlds, especially for the time. It gave people a sense of variety as well, and made people a lot happier. Now, the success of the toys led to the creation of an animated series, which can be seen below, which was where we met all our iconic characters such as Optimus Prime and Megatron. This all took place in the years between 1984 and 1987, and the best thing about the series it established like a storyline and narrative that is still used today and carried on throughout this whole evolution. And I'm glad we established a storyline, because then it was easy to follow. Because a lot of some franchises like DC follow a different pattern every single time, but this one didn't. So I'm happy for that. That's for sure. Now, surprisingly, the next line of the next part what's the important factor of this evolution was comic books. Now, not the MCU, Marvel and DC started off with comic books, and the weirdest thing about the Transformers as comic books is that they were produced by Marvel Comics as well. So the Transformers that were produced by Marvel Comics were actually ran for 80 issues, which it did enrich the narrative that was built previously in the animated series. However, the Marvel Comics did end this, and then then more comics were brought in by a different alternative company. Now, the comics were considered a pivotal in this franchise's evolution because they provided a depth for these characters, which is no secret whatsoever. Now, this point does sort of overlap with the toy cartoon era, but this did last longer and ended in 1991. Now, the comics did go beyond the storyline presented, because it gave us a new range of characters, and it presented the animated presented in a animated series, and it was that enriched another other animated shows, and they were all based off of these comics. So that's basically, as much as we started this started off from toys, but going straight to comics books influenced movies, which is the exact same thing that happened with the Marvel universe and the DC universe. Now, you can think of that as one of those scenarios where Transformers had an edge because they had toys, and I wouldn't say the Transformers franchise is just as important, because Marvel are very big, but this is still impressive, and they started with an extra pivot. Now, the comics did go beyond the storyline, as I've just said, and it introduced other animated shows and different narratives, such as the war on Cybertron and interactions with humans. So the war of Cybertron, people think actually only came in the last few years. That is wrong. The war of Cybertron did actually was the main storyline that it was just based off of, and the interaction with humans was actually a separate storyline. And I know that's what the Marvel movies, and Transformers movies are based on, but that was actually a major narrative change from the originals, which was very good. Now, in 1986, Transformers the movie was released. It was in 1986. An animated film was produced, and this was actually a very important and significant shift from what was previously showcased, because we obviously had animated shows and we had animated series, shows that would premiere, and then series that was just rolled on as a box set, a blockbuster, and it introduced a new generation of characters like Optimus Prime, and it showed to have an impact on fans as it set the tone and stage for the next generation of characters. So, and this is, I would say this is similar to what we still use today. Now, this movie was the first introduction to Unicron. However, at this point, it wasn't that major. So, there is a different time period that does include the introduction to Unicron. However, it is very different. Now, this story did tell a different interpretation of the previous what was told in the showcase. So it stands as its own movie, not based off the other narratives, which I actually think was good. And this is what set the example for other movies, such as the live action ones. I would say the I haven't watched this. It does look a bit it looks better for the time it was released. I would say that, but it definitely looks like what you would expect from an animated movie at the time. That's for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. This was. Yeah. So there was actually. So after the Transformer movie, there was also a Toys and Cartoons origin repeat, if you know what I mean. So. The new pivotal era, or crucial era, you can say, was another line of toys and cartoons, but in a different generation that was based off what was previously said. Now, Transformers went through a toys and cartoon series phase again, and it was called in the originals, but it did introduce a new line of characters, and they actually revamped some of the originals, such as Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and other ones. So this was actually known as Generation 2, and it was a reboot of the original toy line. That was in 20 years before, and it featured an updated toys mechanic, so it could do more than just switch from a action figure to and then to a car or something else. So this was different, and it was very good, and now it introduced a new revamped originals of toys. So the new characters such as Optimus Prime, he got a new look. And in this era, they also included a new comic book series that was then influenced into a series which can be seen on screen, which is called Beast Wars Transformers. So if you've watched Rise of the Beast, you know that some of the Transformers turn into animals instead of vehicles. So this is what they introduced, and this was quite short-lived, unfortunately. However, it did introduce a new I would say a new era of characters, because it was incredible. So they had the Maximals and the Predacons, and so, it was very short-lived, as this was only it was actually 3 years old. Now, like right now, if you think of how many series something's released, do you think that's actually pretty decent? It did consist of only 2 seasons. I would roughly say around 2 years, but it is short if you ask me. But I'm glad that this is what you've actually, like, this is the main part, as much as it was very short lived. Roughly, this took place 20 years after, so I'll say just at the beginning of the 2000s, maybe just before. Which is, that is actually quite impressive and quite early if you ask me, because we're like already at 3.3 parts. So in 2006, sorry. So Transformers Prime was introduced in 2010, and it was considered, in my eyes at least as well, a very dark and mature interpretation of the original storyline of the Transformers. I couldn't agree more. And it did appeal to many fans, which caused a long-lived fan base until it ended in 2013. So it actually consisted of 6 seasons, within 3 years, which is like 2 seasons each year. Very impressive, if you ask me. And this is where we got the actual proper introduction to Unicron, which was good, because that he was a character that really did set the tone for the franchise as well, because he was a very big bad, even more than Megatron. And even I would say it was probably the best animated show, because I watched it a lot, and I'm not surprised it got a long time fan base, and people still watch it now. And this show did emphasize the role of Unicron for sure, and this was then carried over to a new line of toys again, and it was like this establishment that made the interest in Transformers and toys and media as a whole so much more requested, because within this era we did have the live action movies, which I will get onto in a little bit, but this did encourage a lot of a definite introduction to more media, into more Transformers franchise media that was like this, so mature and dark. Because this had a dark storyline, and it was good, and it did include some mature actions, I would say, that some to a young audience, which is what this was based this is who it was supposed to be based off, I don't think would understand it just as much, but it still worked. Yeah, so we had the live action movies. As we all know, the live actions movie era started in 2007, when the traditional conflict between characters were reintroduced, and this was all brought to life by Michael Bay. Now, he is considered the king of the franchise, even just for the live action movies, I would say. His first 5 live action movies were helmed by him, and this new era of Transformers introduced a new generation of Transformers. So we got Sideswipe, we got Jazz, and we got Ratchet, we got Ironhide. So these were all new characters based on the other characters as well. Now, but they are very big nowadays, and they are still happening today. We obviously Rise of the Beast, which released last year, and we also have Transformers 1 coming out. Now, they have some very harsh reviews, I will say, but the fact is that it is still a thing that was outstanding. I mean, the designs of these characters are amazing, and I think that's quite underrated, because you've transformed literally a toy line into a whole live action show, into a whole live action movie franchise, not just franchise as an overall. Now, there isn't not much on this front, because we've got 5 movies, and then we've got Yes, so 1, 2, 5, 6, 7 live action movies, and in front, and there is more on this front that we know of as of right now, that goes beyond Rise of the Beast. And Rise of the Beast is not the end as much as people say. I mean, did you see the ending of that? I don't think it's not. It's definitely not the end. That is for sure. Yeah. So yeah. Last bit of this. So the next Netflix War of Cybertron trilogy. So a couple years ago, Netflix released the War of Cybertron, which was actually a computer animated series that explored the final days of the war on Cybertron. So everything that takes place before Bumblebee is sent to Earth. So you can actually watch this, then watch Bumblebee. It would make so much more sense. And now it gives more context onto the backstories of the Transformers and the conflicts that was resented since the franchise began. So it cleared up some sore spots within the franchise, which was, I think, probably the best thing that they did, because it was a better, because it gave more context to the overall lore of it. And the seasons consisted of different time periods of the war. So it consisted of 3. So the Siege, the Earthrise, and the Kingdom. Now, this was finalized in 2021 when it was, but it was a very important part of the franchise's evolution to become more modern and fresh, however, still contain context and lore to the overall Transformers franchise, which it very much did. Honestly, go watch Transformers War of Cybertron. It's very interesting and it's very good. Watch this and then watch Bumblebee. It's it opens your eyes to so many things, and it's really helpful. Yeah, so this is very important. I know it's like just a Transformers animated show. I mean, computer animated, which is very impressive to make, and it is very, very good. Yeah. Now, last bit is about the future of the Transformers franchise. The future of this Transformers franchise isn't looking. It's not looking any different to what we know now. When it comes to movies, there will always be a new line of toys. That is now a fundamental part of 360 marketing now. Now, from what I know, what it is now as to how it will change, movies and other aspects will probably change, which has actually already happened, as can be seen by the release of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And however, we have another movie coming out on the way, which is Transformers 1, which is basically like a newly established universe. So a universe on top of a universe on top of, guess what? Another universe. So this is a lot. There's a lot of storylines, but at the end of the day, they do all come together. Maybe not in the exact same aspects, but they all do come together, and that is the future of everything having context and correlating with each other. Now, there are also more relevant and canon comics that integrate their importance. So overall, it is very important, but the future is already here, to be honest. Rise of the Beast was a glimpse into the future, and it's looking quite bright for the Transformers franchise. I would hate to see it go down at this point, because they have come very far. They've had some dips like every other franchise does, but it has come so far, just as much as the MCU. So I would say the future is here, and it needs to, it just needs to keep on the trajectory it is going. So yeah, that is that. Oh, yeah, that is the end. That makes sense. Anyway, everyone, that is the end of today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe and comment what else you'd like to see on the channel. And without further ado, if there's any video requests, we've got a Top Gun Maverick overview video coming out, like we had an Uncharted one last week. We've got the What If Season 2 review coming out this week. And then we're off to week 17 of AustinTalks, which is a lot, damn. Anyway, so without further ado, everyone, I do hope you all have an amazing and great day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!